Coming up on your local news in HD, a community speaks out against elder abuse, how you can help in the fight. Plus, 6 months after the deadly shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, a debate still brews over gun control. And the latest on the growing tensions with Syria, what the White House plans to do next about the government's use of chemical weapons. And your weekend weather forecast with Nicole Gomez. ABC 5 News starts right now.
From Yuma to San Luis to El Centro and the Imperial Valley, this is ABC 5 News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for ABC 5 News. I'm Mauricio Marin, and a Chalk has a night off. A local organization taking steps to help shed light about elder abuse in the desert Southwest with an emotional ceremony. Your local news reporter Vanessa Herrera has more on the shocking statistics about elder abuse.
A serious issue for sure, Mauricio. In 2010 alone, there were over 200 allegations of abuse, but it's estimated that only 1 in 14 cases are actually reported.
Did you ever know that you're my hero?
There's a couple 100,000 people each year that are affected by elder abuse.
Vanessa Deathridge with Arizona Attorney General Tom Horne's office says only about 4% of the cases are actually reported. So the Yuma County Elder Abuse Coalition held the first annual balloon launch this morning at West Wetlands Park to bring awareness to the different forms of elder abuse.
So, and it's not just physical abuse, because that's what people think about, but it's emotional, financially, you know, there are just so many different kinds of abuse, but that's the whole purpose, is to make people aware.
Even as young as preteens, all across Arizona, people are coming together to bring light to this serious issue.
The Attorney General's office, we hold an annual art contest for all 7th and 8th graders across the state, and the title of it is Why Should I Care About Elder Abuse? And it's important to not only reach the adult community but also the younger generations and educate them on the problems that Arizona faces as far as elder abuse.
And whether you're a victim of elder abuse or a caretaker in need of some advice or help, the coalition wants you to know that there's help for you.
The Adult Protective Service is the company, or the state agency I should say, that we need to be aware of. The Adult Protective Service is really their best line of defense, but you know, before that I would always recommend to just call the police, and if you feel like you are not able to do that, talk to a neighbor or ask someone to make a phone call.
Now you can report abuse, like she said, by calling the police, or you can also call the Adult Protective Services at 877-SOS-ADULT. Mauricio, I'll send it back to you.
Hey Vanessa, thank you so much. Now a man could be facing very serious charges after being arrested for stealing goods from a local military base. Imperial County Sheriff's Office arrested 46-year-old Martin Alberto Gonzalez for possession of stolen NAFL Central property after a week-long investigation. Authorities found the stolen property, which was identified by the Naval Air Facility as Aircraft County Measure Flares. In a statement, NAFL Central tells your local news, "We are concerned foremost with the safety of the public anytime they disregard the posted warning signs and enter the bombing range boundaries. Not only is trespassing on the range dangerous, but it is a drain on taxpayer dollars due to lost training time and loss of government property." Now, the case has been turned over to the District Attorney's Office in the Imperial Valley for review. And a Mexicali man is in trouble suspected of stealing agricultural equipment in Imperial Valley. The ICSO tells us that 33-year-old Marco Andres Gutierrez Perez was busted at the San Luis Port of Entry earlier this week. Now, he's accused of stealing tractor batteries and starters from 5 different companies. He's currently being held in Yuma County Jail on a $25,000 bond and awaiting extradition to Imperial County. An early morning rollover on the road sends 2 people to a Phoenix hospital with critical injuries. Firefighters tell us a truck rolled over between 10th Avenue and Avenue F in San Luis at around 4 this morning. When first responders got there, the driver was still trapped inside the truck, hanging upside down. 2 of the 5 passengers hurt were in critical condition. They were flown to a hospital in Phoenix. The San Luis Fire Department says the driver might have been going too fast and lost control of the truck. A gorgeous evening out there, and earlier this afternoon just as beautiful despite the heat. Your local news reporter Vanessa Herrera took this video of a goose enjoying the nice green grass at West Wetlands Park this morning. And you can see a couple enjoying a morning walk at the park as well. Right now, let's check in with Nicole Gomez, who has a quick look at our weekend weather forecast.
Well, hello, Mauricio, and happy Friday, everyone. Well, it was another hot day today, but I want to take a look at temperatures this morning. We were off to a mild start in Mexicali and El Centro, close to 70 degrees. Here in Yuma, 77 this morning, and we actually hit a high of 106 degrees today. So coming up in your full forecast, we will talk about what you can expect for Father's Day weekend, and I'll have one more detail about Monsoon Awareness Week. That is coming up in your local weather. Mauricio, back to you.
Nicole, thanks so much. Now, today marks 6 months since a gunman opened fire at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut. Community is still working to cope through the traumatic experience. 26 people brutally killed at Sandy Hook, including 20 small children. Today, victims, families, community members, and local officials gathered to remember those who lost their lives. They held a moment of silence in the victims' honor. Many in the crowd also renewed their call to Congress to support stricter gun legislation, including laws that would require comprehensive background checks. Arizona Governor Jan Brewer continues to push Medicaid, but insists it has nothing to do with Obamacare. The Republican governor has toured the Grand Canyon state, pushing for an expanded Medicaid program, even stopping off in Yuma earlier this year. AZ Family reports that Governor Brewer is making a distinction between growing access and President Obama's health care overhaul, saying they're not the same thing. The expanded Medicaid program will give tens of thousands more people insurance who fall near the federal poverty level. With the White House now declaring that it believes Syria's government has used chemical weapons, President Obama has called the use of the weapons in the country's civil war a red line. Barbara Starr has more.
The Obama administration is now confirming what was feared, that the Syrian regime used chemical weapons multiple times.
A red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. That would change my calculus.
Pressure is growing on President Obama to act.
So I applaud the president's decision, and I appreciate it. But the president of the United States had better understand that just supplying weapons is not going to change the equation on the ground of the balance of power.
The White House says it will boost military support to the rebels, but won't say exactly how. A leading option, arming the rebels. That could include desperately needed ammunition for rifles and machine guns, as well as new shipments of machine guns. Shoulder-fired weapons to attack tanks, artillery, helicopters and jets, and mortars and rockets. The White House does not plan to put U.S. troops on the ground in Syria and is far from ready to commit to a no-fly zone.
The question is, what is going to make a decisive difference now? And is the administration willing to do that? Or is this kind of a throw some guns that way and pretend you're doing something when it's not going to make a difference?
The stakes couldn't be higher.
It's important to us because of the tremendous number of chemical weapons that are there. And if these weapons get in the hands of the Al-Qaeda related terrorist groups, they will certainly be used against Europe and against us.
The White House announcement comes after word that former President Bill Clinton is now siding with McCain, calling for tougher action. According to Politico, Clinton said at a private event with McCain, quote, "Some people say, stay out. I think that's a big mistake." Still, the fundamental unanswered question, exactly what type of military assistance is the U.S. going to provide to the rebels? Barbara Starr, CNN, The Pentagon.
Now here's a look at what's straight ahead on your local news in HD. New information tonight about the deadly fire raging in Colorado. Weather conditions may now be helping fire crews. And he's a Republican governor who's gotten heat for hanging with President Obama. Now he's with another top Democrat. We'll explain why after the break.